All right, guys, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. It's great to be with you. I'm back in the studio. I've been on the road for a while now, since mid-January, and it's good to be back home and working on editing together these Mexico episodes. We had a great time hunting down there, me and Brian Call and Lampers and Brad. We had a really fun trip, filled some tags, and I think we're already looking forward to trying to do it again next year. So all around a great trip, and I hope you guys have been having a good winter so far and looking forward to spring. I know I am. But anyway, I just got back from the Western Hunt and Conservation Expo in Salt Lake City. It's a really cool trade show. You know, if you're looking to get into the outdoor industry, or you're just interested in checking out all the best gear and, you know, meeting some great folks and, content creators and influencers and whatever you want to call them in the space, it's a really cool opportunity. Happens every February in Salt Lake City. It's really just everybody in the kind of Western hunting world all under one roof for a few days. So it's really cool. I highly recommend checking it out. And also, you know, you can support the conservation efforts of the Mule Deer Foundation. But anyway, I recorded a bunch of podcast files out there with some really great individuals. And so for the next few weeks, I'm going to be sharing those. They are live recorded podcasts, and there are video versions as well of them on YouTube. But this week I'm going to do Mark Huelsing from Exo Mountain Gear and the Hunt Backcountry podcast, Tony Smotherman from BPI Outdoors, which is Bergara rifles, CVA, and a few other outdoor brands, but really entertaining, cool guy. Has been around the industry and on several different TV shows for years. So great guy. And the last one this week is going to be Robby Denning. So if you've been listening for a while, you've heard me have a few conversations with Robby. He's a great guy, legendary mule deer hunter, and one of the main dudes behind Rokslide. So just a really great guy, great hunter. And this week, I hope you enjoy these fairly brief conversations. That's why I kind of have multiple guests per episode. So Mark Huelsing, Tony Smotherman, and Robby Denning this week. And so I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one. All right, guys, well, I'm here at the Hunt Expo. I'm at the Seekins Precision booth with my buddy Mark from Exo.
Yeah.
How you doing, dude?
Good, man. It's good to be here. I'm glad you caught me today, because I'm feeling 2 days I'm not going to have a voice.
I know, like last year I wanted to sit down with you, but like every time I by the booth, you guys were just like freaking going.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to even mess with them. But
Yeah, this is like one of my favorite shows, because we get to, like, honestly, yes, like it's great showing off products, but talking with a bunch of our customers. It's my favorite show, because so many guys are here and come over and tell stories and all that. It's fun.
This is a great show. I mean, everybody seems to be at this show, I feel like.
Yeah.
So anyway, you were one of my early guests on the podcast, man.
That was a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago. I don't actually
like 2
know
years
when
ago.
it was. It was 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you were just getting started then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, because y'all's podcast was like, I learned a ton just about backcountry hunting from y'all's podcast.
Yeah.
So I was excited.
I've learned a ton from our podcast.
Dude, me too. That's like the main way I've learned, just by talking to guys do the podcast.
That's what feels like super selfish for me, because it's scratching my own itch, right? Like, we've been doing it so long now, but I think we started in 2015, but it continues to be that way. But like, I feel super fortunate to get people on the show. Yeah. And just like, I want to ask these questions.
Oh,
right?
dude, absolutely. You know? Yeah, it's like, it's networking and you're creating content. You know, you're getting to know somebody. And I'm the same way. Like, if I got, for example, like a bear hunt coming up, I'm like, all right, who can I talk to as like an expert bear hunter?
Yeah, exactly.
And make content at the same time and learn.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
That's so cool. So,
yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah, man. How many episodes have you guys done at this point?
I don't know. So we do like a weekly what's like our primary episode is usually an interview based,
Yeah.
like full length, hour-ish. And I know on that we're at like 370 or something. But then we do what's called a Monday Minute episode, which is like shorter, more informal Q&A, usually Steve and I. And I think there's 100 something of those.
So you're up in the 4s.
Yeah, I think it's a little over 5. It's funny, during COVID, like when COVID very first started, and you know, when it was like, oh, the country's going to shut down for 2 weeks, Steve and I were like, let's do a podcast every day, like for the heck of it, because everything was shutting down. This was like super early. We didn't know what COVID was going to be. So like, we're like, okay, we're going to shut down for 2 weeks. Everybody's going to be at home. Let's podcast every day for these 2 weeks.
Right.
Or maybe it ends up being 3 weeks.
And then it was like 2 years.
It was like 2 years. So I think we did daily podcasts for like 4 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
Like we stuck
I bet
with
your
it
numbers
for a
were
while.
like short there.
Yeah, it was crazy. So,
because I feel like
total,
no matter how many you put out, you have like a certain like listener kind of number.
Yeah.
And even if you put out like 8 episodes a month instead of 4, you're gonna get like double the listens.
Yeah.
So it's like the more you put out, the better.
And it's interesting to me how, you know, because we've been doing it since 2015, I'll continue to get emails
On old stuff.
Oh, yeah. Man. Like questions on, hey, you did that episode on, you know, whatever topic or had whatever guest. And I'm like, I don't remember that. And I'll go look and I'm like, that was from 2017. Like, I forgot that existed.
That's the beauty of those things. They don't go away. Like I mean, like now it's funny too. Like, because a lot of the guys that I like was introduced to on your podcast, like Dan Staten, like Ryan Lampers, like I've actually been able to hunt with now. Yeah. And like it's cool to like go back and listen to like super old episodes with Dan. Yeah. And like just hear him talking. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's fun. That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool, man. So so you had a big time hunt in Alaska. So you were telling me a little bit about yesterday.
Yeah, it was for the last handful of years in particular, I've really wanted to hunt mountain goats. And I've always thought about it and always wanted to. But
what is it about the mountain goat that attracted you?
I think they're very cool animals, like just the animal themselves. Yeah. But for me, it's as much like the place, like goat country, right? And not only that, but I think what's part of what makes the animal cool to me is that and it's interesting when you look at mountain goats, because they do behave differently in different places, like in the lower 48, even in parts of Alaska. Like even the area of Alaska I hunted, they've done studies, they've collared goats, and some goats will come down in the winter, and some goats just like stay up, stick it out, like find a way to make it work. And I think that's like from a personality of goats perspective, the fact that they'll literally stay in the mountains like all winter and just like make it work. They're just tough animals, you know.
Was it typically like the old males will do that, or is it just kind of doesn't really matter gender? Or
it tends to be a little bit, but it's mixed. There's some. That's the other thing I like about mountain goats. And in some instances, they fly under the radar. Like they're not as known, they're not as studied as some of the other animals. They're actually not as common. They don't have as much trophy appeal to a lot of guys as like sheep. But to me, I would still rather, like, if you take dollar for dollar, I'd still rather go on 3 goat hunts than 1 sheep hunt, for example. But
is that about what?
I mean, it depends what sheep. Yeah, but like,
but it's a lot more affordable and stuff.
Oh yeah, way more affordable. But yeah, to me, it was like getting in. I'm fascinated by the animals. I started like reading. There's old books from like Chadwick and these other guys, who really studied goats decades ago, and I was like reading all that stuff, and I just kept getting more and more interested.
Any other like interesting things about goats? Because I don't know anything about them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff. It, like, the dynamics of how they interact is pretty interesting, right? Like, males tend to keep to themselves, obviously, until it's time to mate. But even then, like, you get these males who have been off the whole year. But one interesting thing with goats you don't necessarily see as much with, like, common ungulates, deer and elk and stuff is the females, the nannies, will, like, they can be aggressive towards the males, right? So males will come in, but then females will like try and keep them off and kick them out.
And I'm sure they do fight, right?
Yeah, they do a bit.
Do they like, or do they like spar? Or what
it's more of like what you'll see them do is they'll circle each other and they'll, you know, they have the short hook horns and they'll actually try and hook each other. So it's much less head to head.
Stabbing.
And more of like a stabbing or like some sort of like wound from that. And then other interesting things like with goats, they don't have predators, right? Partially because the country they're in.
Because where they're at,
and then one thing I learned about goats that I had no idea years ago is like one of their main predators is actually can be eagles. So like eagles will swoop in, and especially young goats,
Yeah.
and just try and like knock them off of cliffs and bluffs.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so a lot of their...
And then just eat their bodies.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
and
weird.
then natural death just from falls and stuff like that. So.
No, I've heard that they can absorb bullets like almost no other animal.
Yeah.
Did you find that?
So it was interesting when
I saw a film the other day. This dude shot one like 6 times before it died or something.
Yeah, and it could be with like a 338, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting when I knew I was going to book a hunt. So backing up, I was fascinated with goats for a long time. Wanted to hunt one eventually, right? And then got to the point where I was like, I could keep saying eventually for the next 2 decades. So I made a goal for myself of like, all right, I'm going to do a mountain goat hunt when I'm 40.
Are you 40?
No, I'm 38, so
Nice.
I had a schedule. I still want to do another one when I'm 40.
Yeah, why not?
So I'm still holding to that goal. I'm going to do a mountain goat hunt when I'm 40. But just a long story, circumstances, I had this opportunity that came together with a friend to go, with a guide I got to know, and it was right, and it happened last year, and it was super cool. But it was just like, so when I knew I was going to go on a hunt, I wanted to independently reach out to a bunch of guides and outfitters and ask their opinions about rifles.
Okay.
And not all guides and outfitters are rifle guys, but at least they have the experience of taking clients and seeing.
They've seen lots of goats go down.
They're going to have an opinion on what works and what doesn't. And I just like reached out. I didn't say who I was. I had a podcast or anything like that. I was just like, I'm getting serious about booking a goat hunt. I'm still figuring out when and where, but I'm just curious, like, if you can tell me real quick, like, what's your opinion on like ideal cartridge and bullet choice?
Yeah.
It was all over the map.
Oh,
Just
was it?
all over the map? Yeah. So there's like 2 main schools of thought. One is goats are tough, so you need a tough bullet. So you need to go with like a mono metal or a partition or something bonded, what have you, like get penetration. The opposite flip side of that is goats are known to be tough. They do, if you look at their anatomy, they're built much bigger in the front.
Right. Probably to survive falls off cliffs and stuff.
Yeah, and just the way they climb, right? So their upper body and their chest and all that is tough. But if you look at them, they're called slab-sided. So they're not super deep, like cavity-wise.
Yeah.
And so this other school of thought is, yes, goats are tough, but here's the problem. A tough bullet just penetrates too much.
Goes straight through.
Goes straight through. So you actually need to use something more explosive.
Like a lead
go to a
core or
Bergara
something.
style, right?
Yeah.
So all different schools of thought. I asked a dozen plus different guides and outfitters. Had no consensus. Considered a bunch of options myself. In the long run, I ended up using an AccuBond bullet. It worked great.
Which
I had
cartridge?
7 SAUM.
Did you build a whole new gun for this hunt, or?
No, I had the 7 SAUM already. I did, and I was wanting to do this anyway. But a few years ago, I started shooting suppressed, and I had that rifle.
I just got mine like a month ago.
Yeah.
But I haven't really started.
It's hard to go back, man.
Yeah.
I'll never go back. So I started shooting suppressed a few years ago.
Side note.
Yeah.
So I know you'll probably know the answer to this.
Yeah.
Okay,
not.
I have a loophole scope with a custom dial on it that I set before I got my suppressor.
Yeah.
If I, reset it, re-zero the rifle, do you think the dial will still be good to go for that setup, or do I have to get a whole new dial?
So the suppressor alone, like as you said, you may have to re-zero, right?
Yeah, definitely have to re-zero, but
yeah.
You think the dial will still be on?
So the only way that the suppressor should invalidate or change the dial and the accuracy of the dial is if you get a big velocity shift from a suppressor.
Which shouldn't be huge, right?
Which usually isn't.
Yeah.
It's usually in the ballpark of like 2%. So a lot of guys will say, oh, with the suppressor you'll get faster speeds.
Yeah.
It
It's a
isn't
selling
always
point,
the case,
but not really.
but it's also like, oh yeah, it's faster. If you mean faster being 7 feet per second, then maybe. So your dial, honestly, is probably still going to be
Okay.
good.
So anyway, that was a side note. But
Didn't build
which
a new
bullet did you
rifle.
go with?
Nosler AccuBond.
What is it?
It's a bonded bullet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've had really great. I switched to copper monos.
Yeah, I've shot hammers a bunch.
Oh yeah, I've shot them a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they leave that awesome trail too, so that's cool.
Yeah, that oil, like the vapor.
The burn off trail.
Yeah.
But then my buddy was hand loading stuff for me. But it just wasn't sustainable. Like he lives 3 hours away, and I was like, he could load me up like 20 at a time, and I can't.
So you're shooting like a Barnes now?
Now I'm shooting Barnes, the Vortex, sort of VOR-TX.
Uh-huh.
I've had really good luck with them.
Yeah.
In 300 Win Mag and on my 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
Is it probably a 120 something for your Creedmoor?
The grain bullet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is 120.
Yeah.
Yeah, 120 and 180 for the 300 Win Mag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
Yeah, so building a rifle. I didn't build a new rifle. One change I did make before this hunt, which I was planning to do anyway, was because of the suppressor and the added length, I went to a chassis system just to have the folder.
Yes, it's nice.
And it wasn't because of this hunt, but it was a lifesaver for this hunt, for sure.
Which rifle did you go with?
The chassis, I'm running the XLR.
Okay.
Yeah, the XLR Element.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
And actually I have, so the XLR Element, and then there's the MDT Hunt 26. Those are the I don't want to say the two best chassis, period, but they're the two best lightweight folding chassis. So when it comes to like backpack hunting, those are the top two options. And I've got to run both. Actually, I have an article coming out next week, like comparing them. So they're both great. There's just like details, pros and cons, difference. I shot a Seekins gas gun. I would like to shoot the Havoc and try it, but I'm also a lefty, so they don't have.
I hunted with the Havoc this year.
Yeah.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it a lot.
I was actually just talking with a friend at home, actually a friend of a friend, and he was looking at new rifles, and I was talking to him about budget and what he was looking for and options, and the Havoc fit that what he was looking for well, and is definitely one of the recommendations I gave to him.
They're sweet, man. But anyway, so how did your bullet perform on the goat?
It was good, but I also had a really interesting shot presentation. The goat was bedded and facing me, like a hard quartering, and I really had to thread a needle, make a good shot.
That's interesting, because my mule deer was the same way, bedded directly facing me. I had to shoot him bedded here.
Yeah.
But he didn't move an inch. Mm-hmm. Like his legs were still folded under him.
That's good.
How did it go through?
I've shot deer. Now you say that, I shot a deer on Kodiak Island, a black-tailed deer, year before last. Same deal. He wasn't bedded, but the angle, I was head on and I was above him and shot low, and it was the quickest I've personally have killed an
frontal
animal.
Shots are deadly.
Yeah, it was the quickest.
I think, I don't know, they kind of get a bad rap. I'm not sure why, but to me it's like, if you're looking at the animal like this, it's kind of like if they're broadside, you can miss bad and hit guts or like a back leg or something. Mm-hmm. I feel like this, you either hit the thing and kill it or you miss.
Yeah.
I mean, not completely.
No, because if you miss what would be a vital shot, more center cavity, you're probably taking out a shoulder.
Right.
Meaning you're probably limiting mobility and getting a second follow-up shot pretty quick.
So for me, I think that's a really deadly shot. I don't know why people are so kind of against it, but other thing that is interesting. So you shot your goat. He was bedded, right?
So he was bedded. He was essentially frontal, but he kind of had his head kicked out. Mm-hmm. So he was showing me this shoulder. And so I was able to kind of sneak it past him and get there. And then goat's known for being tough. He went to get to his feet, struggled a little bit, but made it to his feet. Wow. And then I had a broadside shot, and it just dumped him. Goat's being tough. He's laying there on the edge of this cliff. Yeah. And I just dumped him, and he's down. He was his paw just was boom, like that. And what's funny is this hunt was filmed, and you hear the guide go, put one more in him just to make sure he stays there. And so reload, send it, and as soon as that third impact hit him, I'm not sure if it was the goat moving or if it's just the impact of the bullet, but the bullet hits him, boom, he lurches, just he's down, but he just, and he just, and he, it was a little over 200-yard shot, but there was these avalanche chutes between where I was and where the goat was, and so he falls off this cliff, disappears into an avalanche chute.
Oh, jeez.
And we were waiting to see, is he gonna roll and come out where he had visibility? We never did. And then the recovery, we ended up finding him, but from our perspective, what was one avalanche chute was actually 3.
Yeah.
And they were nasty. So it took us, I took a 200-yard shot. Yeah. I took a 200-yard shot. He fell between us and his original location, and it still took us an hour and a half to get to him or to locate him, right? And then he was in another spot where when we did find him, he got hung up on this tiny little tree, but was not in a spot where we could physically get around him or process him or take care of him. So we actually had to let him go and tumble even further. Turned into a typical
At least the meat was tenderized.
Yeah. So and thankfully he didn't get busted up or anything like that.
He was a pretty good Billy.
In pretty good shape. Yeah, it was. He was a younger Billy, but something I was happy to take. skipping ahead, like we talked about the shot. It was day 9 of what was supposed to be a 7-day hunt.
Right. Yeah.
So it was.
When's the film gonna come out?
Probably in March.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be looking forward to check that out.
Yeah. So it's funny to me. I've been on hunts that have been filmed. I've never had just my hunt filmed.
Yeah.
Right. So I've hunted with like Born and Raised and and done like more group hunts that have been filmed. And it's really I'm
Team Pure Elevation, right?
Yeah, Pure Elevation stuff I've been with.
Nice.
But this is the first okay,
it was
here's
your hunt.
Just my hunt that was filmed. And I think because of it was 9 days, we had all these ups and downs, we had all these weather windows, we had landslides, we had like all this crazy stuff, and it really showed me that even though this film's gonna end up being probably like 35-40 minutes, like so much you can't show, right?
Oh yeah, dude.
And to me, like the hunt is all about the experience, and it was just like another reminder of on one extreme, like social media, right? Like quick photos and stuff like that, like often don't tell anything, story, right? Like, and I'm not like anti-trophy photo, but to me, like the hunt is all about the experience and the story and everything. And so it's like hunting media, whatever you think about it, there's good, there's bad. But one thing I struggle with, like whether it's photo, video, sometimes even podcasts, like it's just hard to truly encapsulate a full story and like what something means to somebody,
Absolutely.
I'm glad to have this hunt filmed, even for myself personally, to go back and relive, but it's also like what you see as an objective viewer versus like what I experienced in 9 days of hunting with these solid dudes was like, you just can't recreate it,
At least you can backfill all the rest stuff in your mind.
Yeah, for sure. I can.
You can.
Right, I can.
But yeah, I mean, try squeezing it into 22 minutes even.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but that is a tough part. So, real quick, this is interesting. Some people feel like, I don't. Some people think that like shooting animals in their beds is like unethical. I don't. I shot 2 this year in their bed. What do you think about that whole thing?
It's not my initial like personal opinion is I don't see I guess obviously if you have a good shot presentation. So I even look at it differently with like archery versus rifle, right? Like you have to know the presentation of the animal, the capabilities of your weapon, and ultimately at the end of the day, all that means is can it take an ethical, clean shot?
Yeah.
So if you can do that, I personally don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting because it's not, even like all the podcasts I've done, that's not a topic I've thought. So what I would be curious to ask is like the people who think that is unethical or not, right? Like what's their argument? Is it because the animal
I've heard some people say like their vitals are like a smaller target because they're like up or they're shifted or something. I don't know.
So yeah, I think it goes back to capability. But that's the same for anything, right? Like should some hunters take a frontal shot? Should some hunters take a shot when animals bedded? Should some take something that's quartering away, whatever, right? All that is really at the end of the day not about the presentation, but about the capabilities and confidence of the hunter, right? Like
it's a case by case thing.
It's case by case thing, and that's like case by case. Like, what shots are you willing to take, or what's your max shot distance? To me, that's always a hard question because it's like, what are the conditions?
Exactly.
Right? Like,
am I prone? Am I sitting?
Yeah. What's my position? What's the wind like? What's my heart rate? What did I come off of? Like, how much time do I have? Like, there's all these variables that I think when it comes to things like quick, easy answers with situations like that, there isn't one.
Very true.
Yeah.
So is the film going to be on the XO YouTube page or?
Yeah, we'll put it out on YouTube. We'll send out something like in our email, stuff like that. So.
And then real quick before I let you go, I know you're probably busy, but you guys are just released your K4 frame.
Yeah. How is this? It's exciting, man. We've truly been working on it for like 3+ years. Yeah. And so there's been so much internally that we've done and been excited about. And then like back in 2021, we had been working on stuff for a while. In 2021, we put it in the hands of like 40 guys and was like, all right, let's kind of cast that net wider, get more feedback, and then made revisions after that. And then this past year, we had like 150 guys run it. So we've been working hard for several years, and then to finally be able to like be here is really the first time we've been public about it, but actually like let the cat out of the bag, like show it to customers, have people try it is honestly, it's just really rewarding because we've been working on something for 3 years, and it's finally like, all right, now we can talk about it.
Absolutely.
Now we can show it. Now we can put it out there. But we don't ever release stuff just to release stuff, right?
So I know you guys are really thoughtful about what you put out.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had an update since 2019.
Yeah.
And so because we don't just release new stuff every year, like here's the 2023 pack, this isn't what it is. Here's what we've been working on for 3 to 4 years. Like, we're super excited to share it. Come check it out. So yeah, it genuinely is exciting to get it out there. This hunt, obviously, we were running it. It's funny because we launched K3 in 2019, and I think I've maybe done one hunt with K3 since then.
Okay.
Because we've just always been trying stuff.
Yeah.
And we tried with K4, what is now K4, we even talked about changing the name, so it's funny to call it K4, but we spent time trying so much different stuff, right? We didn't want to create like the next K3.
Right.
We wanted to like start with a blank slate and just what do we want to do? Like, here's our goals, what's the best way to do this, right? So frame shape, frame material, frame design, bags, like we've tried so much different stuff, and a lot of times you have an idea that you think is great, but until you spend time in the field with it, whether it's like fit, comfort, performance, or whether it's just like on the bag side, like, oh, we think this pocket design would be great, or this type of zipper or whatever, it sounds great, it may look great, and then you go on 2 hunts and you're like, oh, this is actually not going to work. Or maybe it works for like an archery elk hunt, but doesn't work for like a November rifle hunt, right? You have to put stuff through like all those different scenarios.
There's just some things like you cannot replicate. You just have to like hunt with it.
Yeah. So there was some stuff like we were even really excited about, like as recently as last spring, and then like on spring bear season, we're like on a hunt, and it was like, it's not that it's bad, it's just, that's the other thing is you make trade-offs, right? So it's like, okay, here's this idea, it's good, it has these benefits, but what are the trade-offs, right? So, and then obviously when, like this year, you put it in the hands of 150 guys, you get 150 opinions, so, but it's exciting, man. We're super happy with how everything turned out, and also knowing, again, because we don't release new stuff often, like this is not only K4 for this year, but this is the next, for a while, 4 or 5 beyond, right? Like years of stuff that, and there's some capabilities in K4 that we haven't talked about yet that we can build on in the future, which is exciting.
So you gonna get out there for spring bear this year?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm excited to get out for spring bear, and still figuring out fall plans. That obviously not all applications and stuff are in, but I have some tags already set and some plans set. We're going back to Kodiak in November, which is a hunt I love.
Love Kodiak, man.
You've done that.
I did in August, so a very different experience, but still really cool. I mean, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was all lush and green.
Yeah.
Some of the bucks are still in velvet.
I want to go early. I've done November a couple times. This will be my 3rd time in November.
Okay.
But I want to get that early season experience.
Early's cool. We were up in a goat lake. That's what we were up there, and it was beautiful up there. So yeah, man. Well, thanks for your time, dude. And
thank you.
Appreciate all you guys do for putting out educational content out there, and it's a great resource. So
yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.
Yep.
All right. I'm here with Tony from Bergara Rifles. How you doing, man?
Any better, I couldn't stand it.
I can tell I like you because you're Southern.
I am Southern. Nashville, Tennessee, man.
Okay. So I don't have the Nashville draw because I was born there, but we moved away when I was a baby.
I try to comedianize myself when I go to different parts of the country, but it's hard to hide. So I apologize for that.
So you grew up hunting out there? Or?
I did, man. So I grew up hunting outside of Nashville, Tennessee, but my nickname is Traveling Hunter. That's what everybody calls me and have for years.
Okay. So
even though I live in Nashville, I spend most of my time where we're at right now in the West.
Okay.
The West has always been a fascination for me.
Me too.
So I always try to spend as much time out in this portion of the world as I can.
Me too, man. That's kind of what started me on this whole media journey and the podcast and now the show, and kind of showing guys from the Midwest, the East, that you can come out here, you can do it on public land, you can have fun, have adventure.
So the most amazing thing is, of course, obviously we live one life. It's a very short life, in essence. Right. And everybody says, oh man, one of these days, I'm going to go west. Well, if you don't go now,
you ain't getting any younger.
You're not getting any younger.
Tags aren't getting easier to get.
Not easier to get. We're not promised tomorrow. And really, at the end of the day, from Nashville, Tennessee, I can be in Wyoming in 20 hours. So it's not like it's another country. It's a day's hard drive away from your home. So going west, if you want to go west, you need to make plans to do it.
Or even jump on an airplane like I do. It's not.
Well, that too. That too.
It takes a little bit more logistics, but dude, I did the drive. Last year I drove to Idaho for spring bear.
Oh, that's a poke.
Dude, it was 3 solid days
Yeah,
of
that's
driving.
a poke from Virginia.
So, but hey, I'm not trying to dissuade anybody. I'm saying if I can do it, you can do it. But yeah, get on a plane. So when did you start coming west to hunt?
Man, I think my first run westward was probably in '99.
Okay.
Of course, we're here in
What kind of hunt was it?
mule deer in Wyoming.
Nice.
Haven't missed a year since.
Wow, that's
and because
awesome,
of that, now we got a place in Wyoming. So like I feel like Wyoming is my second home.
Yeah.
Now.
Wyoming's where I got my start too, with antelope.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, that's like, I feel like antelope's like the best way for new Western hunters to kind of get
for
into
sure.
it. It's just kind of approachable and
it's not a really. It's not a hunt that you got to go out and do 5,000 push-ups a day and run 10 miles a day in preparation to do it.
Yeah.
So you can kind of ease into the western atmosphere. The altitude's not going to kill you. You're not got to be in super shape to make it happen.
Yep.
And in theory, tags are pretty reasonable to get a hold of too.
Yep. That's a good way to start, man. So, but what would you do this year? Any cool hunts this year?
Oh man, absolutely. So, we did Wyoming muley, Wyoming antelope, Montana elk. Oklahoma whitetail, Texas whitetail, Tennessee whitetail, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri whitetail.
Okay.
So I did a few stops.
You did a few stops. You are a traveling. So how'd you do on your Wyoming antelope?
Bro, so I hunt in the southeastern portion of Wyoming, just outside of Nebraska. Okay. And I think there probably is more antelope there than there is humans.
Yeah.
So if I told you a story that was not successful, I'd be a really piss-poor hunter.
Dude, it is a target-rich environment.
It is a target-rich environment.
I went this year to a 0.100% draw unit, and I still killed 2 in 2 days.
Dude, if you can get the tag and make your way there, it's going to be a successful
and spend
trip.
a day driving around and looking, and
Oh yeah.
I mean, the place I was hunting, the unit, it's a great habitat, great numbers, but it's just very little private land.
Okay.
Are you hunting public down there? Or?
No, so I'm hunting private ground down there. That portion of Wyoming, so there is a ton of public ground in Wyoming, but that portion of Wyoming that I'm in the southeast corner,
not much
public. It's mostly private down there.
Yeah. So yeah, the where my goats were on like a 1 mile square chunk of state land surrounded by a private.
Yep.
And they just happen to be on that one spot.
I'd rather be lucky than good any day.
Yeah, man. So that's cool, man. So how long you been at Bergara?
So I've been at Bergara since 2009.
Okay.
So I actually started on the CBA side of things, which has been our muzzleloader.
You know Greg
side.
Ritz then?
I do know Greg Ritz. Yep, sure enough. So my background in this hunting industry, muzzleloading has always been my thing.
Okay.
I actually worked for night muzzleloaders from 1994 till 2009.
I used to have an old night disc rifle myself. Oh.
Yep.
You're good.
Yep, so I started working for those guys, and that's kind of what got me in the industry. Then I started working for CVA in 2009, and about that same time, we were bringing Bergara to the light, if you will. Bergara's always been a barrel manufacturer. Today here in Salt Lake City, obviously a bunch of amazing rifles behind us, so we're now into production rifles. And underneath our production side of things, we have 2 lines of the Bergara family. We have our Premier side and our B14 side. Our B14 stands for Bergara 2014, which is the first year that we brought Bergara to the light as a production rifle manufacturer, not just a barrel maker.
So, totally unsolicited opinion here, off the record. If you're going to buy
you can take my cap off here?
No, I do need a muzzleloader. Where would you start looking?
Oh, man.
CVA or?
Well, so today, here in 2023, where we're sitting today, there's really only 2 manufacturers of muzzleloaders left in this world. It's us on the CVA side of things and Traditions. Traditions is a very small portion of the business market. On the CVA side of things, we are the #1 muzzleloader manufacturer in the world.
I've been looking at the Acura.
The Acura is amazing.
Yeah.
For a break open, that is our top end break open muzzleloader. And even though it's not a bolt action gun, it's still, depending on the shooter, obviously, it's still a 400-yard muzzleloader.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, with technology, of course, technology of what we're doing here today with these amazing bolt guns here on the Bergara side of things, but technology has touched everything from the microphones that we're using to the cell phones that we have in our pockets. Technology has touched everything, and the muzzleloading world is no exception to that. Muzzleloading has come a long ways over the last 5, 6, 7 years to the point now where that These guns are very capable of long-range shooting. The projectiles that we're building, the muzzleloading bullets that we're building today is so much more amazing than they were even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So technology is pretty amazing in everything that we touch.
And so you've been working in the hunting industry for a long time
Since I was 19.
now. Wow.
Yeah, this gray hair on the side of my face is not 19 anymore.
So, and you're interesting because you're from the Southeast like myself, but spend a lot of time hunting out west. And I've been kind of like really thinking this year a lot about the differences in like hunting culture and just the little differences that you don't really start picking up on until like a couple years in.
You bet.
What are some of the biggest differences that you found in like the kind of the hunting culture and kind of?
You know, so again, my background is muzzleloading, and I started muzzleloading more, not because I was fascinated by hunting with a muzzleloader, but more of the opportunities that a muzzleloader hunter has in a lot of the Midwestern states. So I started out as an outdoor rider, is what got me to being here today. And the Midwestern states is where all the biggest whitetail come from. And in those states, in most cases, you can't use a centerfire rifle.
Right.
It was muzzleloading only for quite a long time.
Yeah, the county I grew up in was shotgun, bow, and muzzleloader only.
See, there you go. So a lot of the Midwestern states are the same way. And I think the craziest thing is when I go out west and hunt with a muzzleloader, people look at me like I have 4 eyes. They're like, why would you bring a muzzleloader out in this portion of the country?
Yeah.
It's just something that I really like, hunting with a muzzleloader.
So you'll hunt rifle seasons even with a muzzleloader just for fun?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Again, technology has advanced muzzleloading.
You're a Jeremy Shockey type.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean Jim Shockey, not Jeremy Shockey. That's anyway, that's cool, man. So anyway, so you were saying some of the differences in hunting culture between the Southeast and the West.
You know, it's so different. Everybody's mentality is different. You know, like our culture here or there in the Southeast where I'm from is we hunt out of tree stands.
Yeah.
Everybody out here, if you talk about a tree stand, they laugh at you because you know, oh, I gotta move, I gotta walk, and I get it. I have to shuffle between the different cultures, between hunting in a tree stand in the Midwest and the South to come out west, and it's all boots on the ground, burning shoe leather, beating feet, covering ground.
Yep, it's totally different, man. Like some of the things that I've noticed this year is like, so for me, when I see a deer, because usually when you're whitetail hunting, right? You got a few seconds. So you're going to see an idea and have to identify if you want to shoot it or not and shoot it all in about 30 seconds, or you could be in and out.
That's right.
Right? Out west, you know, these guys sometimes will look at a deer for a day or two or days or weeks before they shoot it. So like they're analyzing this thing. For me, it's like, oh, it's a nice deer. Let's shoot it.
That's right.
They're like, I don't know, how big is the eye guard on the left side? Okay, how's the tine length? Has he got mass? You know, they're like analyzing these things.
So obviously we're here at the Western Hunting Expo, and I talked to a guy just a few minutes ago, and of course a little off topic, but he was elk hunting. He said, I watched that elk for 5 days before I decided to shoot him.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, it don't happen back in Nashville, Tennessee, son.
No, you see something, you're like, I might never see that Joker again.
He's going down. Now, son.
Yeah, and so I'm still really learning that. So like, you know, my hunts this year, I tagged out all my hunts. But there were a couple times where maybe could have waited a few more days and shot a little bigger one. Yeah. But I'm just learning that, you know, it's just totally different kind of deal.
Total different.
For me, it's like opportunity, decent deer, let's take it.
You know, but so growing up hunting out of a tree stand, I'm looking back now going, you know, I was hunting, yes, but I was more waiting.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
I was
honestly,
waiting.
You're waiting.
And when we come out west out
hunting.
here, it's hunting because it's all on you to understand the terrain structure, to be in shape, to be able to beat feet across these hills and mountains out here.
Yeah.
Understand wind and thermals that we don't have to deal with much back there. So yeah,
it's a different ball game.
Different ball game, man, and it just intrigues the devil out of me. And that's why if you want to go west, you need to go west because it is amazing.
Yeah, and you got to get the gear and just a whole new skill. So, but it's fun. It's not like something you can't do. It's a fun experience. It's a journey. Something I've been really enjoying the last 3 years.
You bet.
It's good to talk to somebody that's been kind of through that same thing. Man.
Oh man, it's a learning process for sure, dude. But it's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's good talking to you, dude. You got any cool hunts lined up this year?
So obviously, right now we're just at the start of February.
Right.
So still got a lot of tags that's going to be going in play.
Sure.
Some of the same stuff will always happen, like the Midwestern stuff where tags are over the counter.
Yeah.
The Texas kind of stuff will happen. So we're still waiting on to figure out what we're going to do for Colorado stuff, Montana stuff, Wyoming stuff. Because, well, just like 2 days ago is when the Wyoming tags were due for elk. So just got those in, but we haven't applied yet for mule deer and antelope in Wyoming yet because we're still before the application date.
Yep.
So still got a little time to figure out the western trips, but yeah, it'll be a good year.
Did you say you hunted Montana this year?
I did.
Elk though.
Elk,
September?
No, so it was a rifle hunt.
Okay.
So we were there hunting with the Bergara rifles.
The general tag or?
No, it was a draw tag. We were over in the western side, over around the Hamilton area. We were hunting in the Bitterroots in the Sapphire Mountain region over there. But yes, it was late season, November.
I'm looking, I should draw my Montana General Rifle Elk tag this year.
Oh man, awesome.
So I'm looking at options for that.
It will be fun.
Yeah.
And then hopefully be before the weather gets there, because I always draw that special tag about every 2 years. It's always in November, and the snow's always knee-deep to giraffe, and the weather's 15 below zero.
Yep. I hunted the General Rifle tag this year. Shot a nice big 26-inch wide 2-point. Cool buck. But anyway, yeah, first night we got there, negative 23.
Yeah, it's rough.
And I mean, dude, I'm from Virginia. 23 is cold.
Bro.
Negative 23 is like, my cameraman was laughing at me how much stuff I was putting on.
I can't even spell negative 23, man.
But I feel like once it gets to like around 0,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's just cold. It doesn't really feel much different whether you're -5 or -20.
The only time it feels colder is when you look at your phone and pull up the temperature and it says negative 23.
Yeah, exactly.
Then all of a sudden I get to feeling colder. But
yeah, no, at that point, once ice is forming on your mustache, it's just cold as cold.
That's right, bro, for sure, man. But it's just something special about that portion of the country. You just got to do it at least once in your life.
Oh, dude, I wouldn't trade it. Yeah, and I had it rigged up so my cameraman, he lives in Idaho. He met me. He brought his wall tent and everything. So we
wall tented the whole deal, man.
Yeah, and the general tag, when we were back there 5 days, didn't see a single person.
See, where we grew up at there in the southeast, that's never going to happen.
I saw one truck 4 miles away through my optics one day, and that was it.
We was the same way. We were most of the time we spent in the Bitterroots, and we never saw another human.
Yeah. And we were chasing deer every day.
Yeah, we were on elk every day.
Exactly, man. So the opportunities are out there. Just got to get the right gear, do the research, have the right tools, and you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Trust me. If we can do it,
anybody can do it. And the only limitations we have in our lives are the ones you put on yourself. If you want to do something bad enough, you can, and we'll figure out how to do it.
100%. Cool. And so, anyway, nice to meet you, brother.
Hey, man.
Thanks for your time, dude.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. Good to see you here in Salt Lake.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, it was great, man. All right, well, guys, I am here in person with Mr. Robby Denning. You're the only person that's been on the podcast 3 times now.
Dude, lucky me, man. Must be my day.
I just love talking to you, man. So, yeah, man, how was your season?
Dude, I finally broke the slump, man.
You did?
I killed a good deer this year. I'd gone, and last year I killed was in 2019, and just never came together the last 3 years. 20, I actually had a really good tag in 20. Just didn't pull it off. 21, I wounded that really good buck in 21. And so what's that, 20, 21, and then 22. So I said 3 years. I killed a 31-incher the last couple days of the season. So it wasn't quite 3 years, but man, it was looking like it. Okay. And that was the biggest slump I've had since '97.
Right. You're probably looking at a lot of deer though. You're just waiting for the right one, right?
Oh yeah. For sure. Yeah. That's really what it was. But I shot at 2 really good bucks in those 2 years too, and that one I wounded, another one I missed, and that's on me. Yeah. That was archery. And but really for how much, dude, I hunted 120 days to kill a 31-incher. And this is all just pretty much regular tags. I had one landowner tag in 2021, but I didn't tag out on that one either. So the rest of them was just pretty much what you can get. Yeah. Through the states, and and I hunted multiple states, and I was on another podcast the other day with Cliff Gray, and he was asking me, so what do you think it was?
You're Wyoming, right?
Oh man, I did Wyoming. I did
Idaho.
Where
do you live though? I forget.
What's that?
Where do you live though?
I live in southeast Idaho.
Okay, Idaho. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, so I was hunting Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado. I had a Nevada tag in there. So 4 states. I mean, it's a little embarrassing. It honestly is. And when Cliff was asking me, like, what do you think it was? I'm like, well, obviously the missing part's on me, but it just didn't come together. Yeah. And sometimes you get these big long dry streaks in there, and so.
But you broke it this year.
I broke it, dude, and it felt so good. Dude, it felt so good because I thought.
Tell me about it.
I had 3 days left, and so I started hunting in late August this year, and oh man, dude, I lost track of the days I hunted this year. 30, something like that. And I was down to my last tag, and we were in western Colorado, and went with a friend, Travis Hobbs, And we had hunted the unit before, and it's just an okay unit, you know. Couple
First, second, third rifle?
This third rifle.
Okay.
And,
I've been looking at that hunt. There's some good opportunity in there.
Dude, there's some great dates right now. In fact, probably too good of dates.
You're right.
As far as
you don't have to have a ton of points to draw them either.
Depends on what unit you go to. If probably most of the third season units are going to average you probably 3 points, which I guess isn't a whole
that's
bunch.
Not crazy.
You know, but you know, I'm used to hunting every year, so that still sounds like a lot to me.
See, I only started this whole thing 3 years ago, so it's like I don't know what it used to be like, you know.
And you know, and you got a good point. I guess that's relatively speaking, that's not a lot of points, but man, to sit on the sidelines for 3 years to me, that's like an eternity.
Oh yeah.
So this was like a 1 or 2 point hunt though, and then the dates did it for us. I mean, I killed my buck on November 14th. Travis killed a good buck the day before, a 30-incher. We both got 30-inchers, and
it's awesome.
But you know, I'll tell you what, he killed his on the second day. I killed mine on the third, and there was only 4 days left on the day I hunted, and I thought, you know what, I may not get one again this year. And it was a lonely old feeling, but it came together well. We're trying to put together a video on it.
Oh, cool.
Because it was such a long slump, I kind of quit filming.
Yeah.
I just got lazy,
I know the
dude.
feeling.
You get all this video of nothing happening.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I did that just the other day, actually. I was like really committed, and then like 2 days I hadn't seen a single animal I was looking for. I had 3 days to kill between my last hunt and this expo. I couldn't go home, so I got an OTC Barbary sheep tag, New Mexico, and just looked for sheep for 3 days. I found a stud bighorn, but never saw a single Barbary sheep. Anyway, long story short, it got to like the third day. I was like, dude, I don't want to pick up my camera. I haven't seen an animal in 3 days.
Yeah, it's funny. and dude, I was even worse. I started deleting stuff off my camera.
You don't do that.
And deleting stuff off especially my phone, 'cause my phone was getting full. You know, I only got a 64 meg phone and or gig, whatever that is, and I was at like 50 one night, so I just started taking stuff off it. And then after I killed this buck, I thought, you know, this was a 3-year journey. There's a pretty good story here. Dude, I went back. I'm missing so much stuff.
Man.
So we literally had to scrape stuff together.
Yeah.
I'm just getting ready to send it to Jordan Budd. She'll do a professional edit job on it, and I think there's a good story there. I really do.
Oh, for sure.
But it could have been a lot better.
Yeah. Well, dude, I got my first mule deer.
I know you did.
Yeah.
Dude, a pretty
I got
good
two
one
this year.
too. You got 2. I didn't see the second one.
Okay, so the first one was in your state, and he was a little guy.
Yep.
But it was a really tough hunt. You know, it was I e-scouted it from Virginia, and tough area, low density. We didn't see a single buck for like 6 days. And then I saw a legal buck. I said, you know what? First mule deer, taking him.
Awesome, dude. And dude, I know where you were hunting. You were talking to me about it, and that to come all the way from Virginia and just e-scout and to get a buck, dude.
2 bucks. So I
you got
shot
2
mine,
bucks on the same
and then
one?
my cameraman had a tag too.
Gotcha.
Filmed him shoot one.
All right, dude,
also a small one.
Dude,
but
you guys, what
it was his first mule deer too.
Oh,
so
you
both of
guys
us
did
was our
great.
first mule deer.
You guys did great. Seriously, dude. That's like breaking the palace, Caesar's Palace. That's like breaking the house. I mean,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
then went to Montana and got a decent one.
Gotcha. I didn't see that one.
Oh, you didn't?
Great. No, I didn't
He
see
was,
it.
I'll show you. He was 26 wide, but a big
Oh, dude,
2-point.
that's great. You know what? I did see that. I thought that was your Idaho buck.
No.
I just got them mixed up, I guess.
So yeah, I think I maybe sent you a picture of him.
Yep. Okay, dude. I was just mixed up. I thought that was your Idaho buck.
No, that was
dude. That's an older buck.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, he had some age on him. He had a little trash on the back, but and he was just chilling. Like all the other bucks were cruising, pushing around 1 or 2 does. He was just bedded with like 7 does all around him. You know, he owned the place.
Yeah, that tells you right there he's an older buck. You know, and that's cool, man. That's cool. Seriously, get 2 bucks on your first year out because it was your first year mule deer hunting.
First mule deer hunting.
All right.
Yeah, and you played a huge part in helping me get ready for it, man.
Thank you.
Inspiration, and mule deer was the animal actually that like drew me to the West. Honestly, there was an older guy that was a friend of my dad's, and he'd come back in the heyday, come out and did the whole thing, wall tents and the big, and I was like, elk are awesome, but I know you're a mule deer guy, and I'm a deer guy too. Like I've kind of discovered, still love elk, but I'm a deer guy. So that's the species that brought me out, and then it just reminded me too, like when I was driving here from New Mexico, I'm used to looking for deer, like, all right, let's look in the fields, look in the flat stuff. But I'm driving and I'm seeing all the tracks, all the mule deer tracks are up the mountains.
Up the banks.
And it's like, these deer are they're different.
They're mountain deer.
And when I was in New Mexico, I found a few mule deer. They were higher than the bighorn sheep.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've seen that before too.
And I was like, that's why these things are special, because where they take you.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes I get, you know, I love hunting big bucks, and I get caught up in that. And sometimes I, just like this year, you know, going through some slow periods, I just had to kind of sit back and think, you know what, it's okay if I don't get one.
Yeah.
Because, man, you go some cool places, you get to do some cool things, you know, to get to hunt with Travis Hobbs. You know, he's a good friend of mine. But it's hard to get the same tag. It's hard to get the same time off work and all that stuff. And so, you know, there's a lot more besides the antlers, and I was reminded that this year. So
for sure, the whole experience.
Yeah.
Especially when, especially from like a guy like me, you know, coming out. And so for the Montana hunt, my cameraman, he lives in Idaho, and he was able to come, and he brought his wall tent and everything. So we had a nice, got back up in there to a spot where we didn't see another hunter for the whole 6 days we were back there.
Yeah.
But we had a nice wall tent set up, and it was
only 2 deer in the
first
unit,
night.
and you guys had those called for, so all the owners are like, we're not going here.
No, we were chasing bucks every day. Again, they weren't giants, but they were like nice, couple 4 points, you know.
Gotcha.
But the first night was -23, and we were sleeping in my teepee.
Yep.
We didn't want to commit, you know, to the area yet.
Yeah.
It was so fun, man.
Oh yes, 23 below in the teepee. Holy smoly.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a heater?
We did. We had a little Mr. Buddy heater
There
to
you
kind of
go.
knock the chill off, but it didn't stay on all night.
No. You don't want to. I never feel good about running them all night. It scares me. You know? Even if you got ventilation, and when it's that cold, if you ventilate the tent, you're losing all your heat anyways. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool,
so
man.
It was cold.
So 23 in the pub tent.
Dude, where I'm from, 23 is cold. -23 is like next level.
That is, dude. You know, in Colorado, that opening day, it was 9 below when we got up.
Oh my
and
God.
we did have a wall tent and everything. Man, everything was frozen.
Yeah.
The stove was frozen.
Right.
Coffee was frozen. I mean, everything you picked up was frozen. I mean, that's hard living.
You're putting stuff in coolers to keep it not frozen.
Exactly. Yep. Right. You heat it up, throw a hot water bottle in the cooler.
Yeah.
And then
That's a
hope
different
in
world.
the morning your lettuce and everything isn't brown. So.
Yeah, that's a different world, man. So you got any cool hunts this year coming up?
You know, right now it's just so early. We don't know what we got coming.
Yeah.
So, you know, probably just general season Idaho for sure. And then, you know, if I can pick up a tag or two on something else, but I won't know.
Yeah.
I won't know right now. I can't go back to Colorado for where I went last year because I don't have any points. And so we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
Just play the odds. But it seems like you always end up with more tags than you can hunt.
I know.
You know,
Everyone always whines about opportunity, but you can get it. You can get
it's
tags.
still there. You're right, dude.
Yeah.
It's still there. And like this year, dude, at the end of the year, I mean, dude, I was so tired. I was like, you know, I didn't have any great tags, and I still had, you know, more days in the field, which, you know, that's one of the advantages of having great tags. You don't have to hunt so much.
And you got your buck.
Yep, and I got my buck.
Yep.
So.
I have an Idaho deer tag this year again, but it's a spot I've never been to. It like all my top choices were gone. I was number 5,000 in line, which I thought was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But all my choices were gone
compared to 43,000.
Yeah. So I just got what I could. I think it's actually a pretty decent unit.
Awesome, dude. That's great.
Maybe I'll ask you about it.
Yeah, that whole thing that Idaho's gone to, that is rough. And I don't know what would fix it. I mean, even if it was a draw, you're obviously seeing the demand for those tags by how many people are in line.
Crazy
so
demand.
Maybe it is better just to fight that day and take the day off work. I mean, I know guys are taking the day off work to get a freaking deer tag. I mean, who would
I had
think?
to clear my schedule. Yeah. I mean, it's serious.
Yeah. And dude, a lot of them, they just didn't get some of them didn't get anything.
Yeah.
You know, just gotta be a way to fix that. So.
Well, cool, man. Well, it was good catching up with you, dude.
Hey, you too, man. Thanks for
take up
having
too much
me
of your
on.
time,
God bless you. Good luck with the podcast and everything. And
dude, I tell you, I'm launching a show on Sportsman Channel.
All right.
In Q3.
All right.
This year.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm there, dude. Just I'll watch your Instagram page.
So half the episodes are going to be hunt films, and then half are going to be kind of interview based, where I like sit down, talk with a guy like you about a hunt that they've filmed, asking questions, watching it together.
All right.
And
man,
kind of diving into a hunt film.
Good deal. And it'll be on Sportsman's Channel? Did I hit that right? All
Yeah.
right, man.
So maybe
Good
have
for
you on as
You're
a
going
guest
places.
sometime. I'm trying.
No, you're working hard.
I'm trying, man.
Hard work always pays off.
Well, you've been a big inspiration and help along the way. So
well, thank you very much. And I will watch for that, seriously.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I will be on there. So.
Yeah. Great, dude.